Life in the sunlit zones of the ocean is more varied than anywhere on the planet. Organisms evolve to fit their environment, and in clear water, colour can be a form of communication. This episode of Deep Blue Discovery is a celebration of the world's most vibrant marine animals and ecosystems, an electric look at colourful creatures and the weird worlds they inhabit. You're about to embark on an artistic tour of the sea, making use of every piece of paint in the palette. This is Deep Blue Discovery. Coming up on today's episode, psychedelic coral, and a tiny squid's bizarre relationship with bioluminescent bacteria. But first, fire in the deep blue. Okay, High Springs in Florida isn't on the ocean, but this is an amazing illustration of what happens when two different types of water meet and sunlight is allowed to do its work. The colour on display here is simply second to none, but how does this happen underwater? The Santa Fe River is a dark tea colour due to the tannic acid released by cypress tree roots. When it meets fresh water from the Devil Spring system, the effect is a natural phenomenon divers never forget. In Salinas de Jalarizamba in Colombia, the sea isn't deep blue at all. The pink colour is caused by the high concentration of saline in the water. It's a valuable salt mine for the country, but also a must-see for tourists in the region. When a jetty in Padang Bay in Bali was deemed too short for the cruise ships it was intended to serve, it was abandoned. 5 years later, the submerged post became a breeding ground for soft coral and the perfect shelter for juvenile fish. In the most unlikely place, an ocean ecosystem emerged. Coral reefs like this one off the coast of Kenya are the bedrock of our underwater world. Scientists believe hundreds of thousands of species call them home, so they're important for the habitat they create. But they also form key parts of local economies. There's nothing quite like the colour and wildlife that coral reefs offer tourists. But have you ever seen coral like this? The psychedelic time-lapse was captured over 4 hours. Corals are animals, not plants, and this shows their sheer variety. Honolulu, Hawaii. When it comes to colourful creatures, very few can compete with the octopus. But there's a reason evolution has taken them in this direction. Colour plays a huge role in their survival. In this case, the animal is camouflaging itself to evade potential predators. Conversely, some octopuses change colour when they hunt. On the Belize Barrier Reef, this octopus is trying to camouflage itself so it can sneak up on its prey. But how does this actually work? Cephalopods have special cells called chromatophores. Each cell has a stretchy sac filled with colour pigment, and when the muscles around these cells contract, the sac expands and more pigment becomes visible. These cells exist elsewhere in the animal kingdom, but it's rare for chromatophores to be controlled by the nervous system. That's why octopuses can change colour as soon as they see a predator. Amazingly, some species can also use these cells to change the texture of their skin to suit whatever rock or coral they're resting on. Sadly, it isn't 100% effective, and sometimes they just have to bury themselves. And while octopuses have developed their own escape and evasion techniques, apex predators have developed countermeasures, Sometimes, nothing can stop an octopus from becoming prey. Very few creatures in the natural world are as vivid and flamboyant as the blanket octopus. This one was caught on camera off Romblon in the Philippines. As it glides through the water, you can see it shifting through the colour spectrum. Often, the most colourful creatures in the ocean are on the small side. The famous clownfish is a good example, but Nemos like this are common. The marine wildlife you're about to see, not so much. The colours in this bubble snail's skin warn predators that it's not on the menu. It eats poisonous worms, and the toxins from its prey become part of its defence mechanism. With a name like flamboyant cuttlefish, this bizarre beast is bound to be a bit garish. This species is seriously poisonous and changes colour, usually red, to warn off possible predators. Rapidly changing from yellow to orange to silver off the coast of New South Wales is a southern reef squid. These tiny critters have an array of defence mechanisms at their disposal, including changing colour and squirting ink. Often found off Indonesia, feather stars or crinoids come in lots of different shades. Known for their flowy style, some species are more dangerous than they look, toxic to anything that eats them. Fire urchins can also be quite venomous, but because they're so easy to see, they're rarely a problem for divers. Given their appearance, they're a draw for nature photographers all over the world. This species of marine flatworm might be colourful, but that's certainly not the most interesting thing about them. They have no skeleton and they're bilaterally symmetrical. That means if you were to cut them from head to tail, both sides would look completely identical. Finally, bobtail squid like this one off Lembe have a symbiotic relationship with bioluminescent bacteria, which live inside a special light organ in the squid's body. That's why these tiny creatures look so vibrant. That's it for this episode of Deep Blue Discovery. We hope you enjoyed seeing some of the most colourful creatures in the ocean, like this porpita. Hopefully there are a few things you haven't seen before in there, and some interesting facts too. Remember to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. We'll be back next week with more awesome sea life content.